Hello there, hello there, hello there, everyone. How are we all? I'm very well, I thank you for asking. Now, I say I'm very well, but that's not technically true. I have had one hell of a day. Boy, howdy have I had a day. Um, Firstly, apologies to anyone who turned up to the football stream earlier, or indeed wanted to watch it later. I've got rid of that, I've deleted it. It just wasn't happening. Technical nonsense on it. It just wasn't happening, so I just stopped.
Oiled like a baby otter.
Thank you indeed. I'll get to that in just a second. Yeah, so that was a fucking nightmare. I was very angry about that. I wanted to go and calm down, and then brilliantly, and I don't know if you can necessarily tell because the swelling seems to have largely gone down, but I walked into the door. Now, to be fair, it wasn't because I'm like lacking basic motor skills. What happened was there was as I was sort of leaving the room downstairs. This was. I didn't realise that there was a ball that had sort of wedged when my niece and nephew come round. We play with little like footballs and stuff. It's it's a bit of fun. They like throwing the ball around in the house. It's naughty, you know. Anyway, and one of them had sort of rolled up into the corner by the door. So when I opened the door like that to walk through it, I didn't realise the ball was there, and so the door swung back a little bit, and I went poof right into the fucking like onto my cheekbone, onto like the thin part of the door like that, poof, right in my fucking face. So it was like being punched very hard in the face. So like I was emotionally, I was already sore, and then physically, like you can't really tell. The swelling's largely subsided, I think, but yeah. So I've had a hell of a day, but I don't actually feel too terrible, in all honesty. It's you just chalk it up as one of those fucking days, I think, and move on. You know, it is what it is. So, like, I could be feeling down and sorry for myself, but I'm not. You live and learn. You live and learn, chap. Also, my Twitch ban runs out in like 2 hours, so that'll be nice. Just in time for me to finish stream and then not stream for another fucking God knows how many hours. Anyway, there you go. One of those days. Thank you to Ronnie, or possibly Ronnie. I'm going to go with Ronnie. For 13 months of awesomeness. Much love to you. Genuinely, your support is enormously gratefully received. And if you wanted to also, you can also do subscriptions, no, memberships and super chats and all of that shit. And yeah, I both need the money and I need the sympathy. I've had a bad day, so be sympathetic to me. Boo hoo, etc. I hate it when doors get violent. True. Also, in a way, because Birmingham City lost 3-0, I'm sort of glad you didn't get to see me experience that live on stream. I don't think you'd have liked that side of me. Chat, to be honest, it's not great. But on the plus side, Man United lost as well, so that was cool. We could watch the crazy people screaming about that in a bit if you wanted to, as a palate cleanser, perhaps. Although I do now that I know about the guy who's growing his hair until they win 5 matches in a row, I don't want it to be achieved, but I do feel slightly sorry for him because he's fucked. They can't win 2 in a row. He's never cutting his hair, that lad. He's going to be like Cousin It by the end of the season. Be very funny. Bless him. Anyway, yes. How have we been, chat? How have we had? What kind of weekend have we had thus far? Has it been good? I've got some content for you. I've got some UK based content which is potentially good but potentially a bit slop, and then the back half of the show is just going to be rightist slop. People have suggested things in the Discord, and I always enjoy watching right-wingers talk shit. As you well know, it's a thing that it's very much my speciality. So we'll get onto some of that in a bit. Prime slop. So I'm led to believe. If we do watch the Man United reaction compilation, maybe upload that to the Kev Reacts channel. Well, that's not a bad idea, and use nameless entity. But what I will say is that does that become too meta? If I'm reacting to people reacting to a thing that no one can see, is that too meta? I don't know. I don't know what the rules are on that. Nothing bad can happen. Only goof can happen. Yeah, fuck it, why not? Yeah, we could put that up on the reaction channel. Who cares? It's reactions to reactions. It's reactception. Fuck it. At least it's something good going up on that channel, right? I'm having a depressing day, and that background just made me laugh out loud. Well, I'm glad it did. I'm glad I brought some joy into your world, Niall. It's beautiful. Anyway. I think it's a good content to prime with that channel with. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, why not? Fuck it. Yeah, it's me reacting to people reacting to things. Fuck it. Is it any less rubbish than just people reacting to stuff? I don't know. Algorithmically, it might help. Anyway. Enough of this nonsense. Now, before we get on with the kind of more slop side of things, there was a genuinely serious subject. Where are we? So, people will know, if they are even semi-regular viewers of mine, that I'm not a fan of George Galloway, or indeed the Workers' Party of Britain. George Galloway is what I like to refer to as a throbbing dickhead. However, being a dickhead is not illegal. And indeed, I believe should not be illegal. Because if it were to be illegal, let's be honest, I might find myself very legally culpable in that as well. We all have our moments. So, it's not illegal. But what is illegal is terrorism. And so, you shouldn't mix up being a dickhead with being a terrorist. Those two things are different. Now, don't get me wrong. All terrorists are dickheads. Not all dickheads are terrorists. That's the thing you got to remember. So, the dickhead in question came back from Moscow, where he was doing dickhead stuff. Mostly dickheading around, as you do. And upon his return to the UK, was arrested by the police under terrorism legislation. Again, I will just sort of say for people, fuck George Galloway, he's a piece of shit. But to arrest a guy who's, been a parliamentarian for many years and indeed will be running for office again in the not too distant future with probably a reasonable outside chance of being re-elected. At the moment, he currently holds the joint record as one of only two members of parliament to have represented 4 different constituencies There's George Galloway who's done that. And then there's this tiny figure who you may or may not have heard of called Winston Churchill. I don't know who he is. Sounds like a wrong one, though, in my eyes. Anyway, so he would set the record as the first person to ever do 5. Assuming he doesn't stand in one of his previous seats, which who fucking knows. This is genuinely concerning. This is a politician, again, a politician I don't fucking like, being clearly having terrorism legislation misused against him. In the same week as we've had the reassurances that the ID card scheme and the information that's gathered around that won't be misused by governments in the future. We were told when they passed this piece of legislation that that wouldn't be misused. Honest, it would only be used on the really bad terrorists. Yeah. What a load of shit that was. And what a load of shit this is. So he's an actual political prisoner, or one in the Lucy Connolly sense. No, not the Lucy Connolly sense, the actual sense. Although I'm not sure that he's still in custody. It could be that they've questioned him and released him on some sort of condition, or possibly unconditional, I don't know. But as of 4 hours ago, he was still, let's say, helping authorities with their inquiries, I think is the euphemism that gets used. In other words, they're probably, breaking his fucking legs as we speak. I'm not sure. Sorry, the police don't do that anymore. They're good boys, honest. They don't pull out fingernails anymore. No. They just deny you water and food instead. That doesn't leave a scar. Anyway. Yes. Genuinely fucking concerning. Yeah. Genuinely concerning. He wasn't arrested, just detained. Well, no, I mean, I think segue. I could be wrong, but I think that's a distinction without a difference. If you are held by the police and you cannot leave when you request to leave, you are de facto a prisoner. You have had your legal right to freedom of movement withdrawn from you against your will. You have been arrested. Whether formally they have to mark it down on the paper as such doesn't bother me one way or the other, frankly. Either way, he shouldn't have been arrested, /held, fucking cuddled by the police in the airport. This is fucking stupid. Arrested for impersonating... To be fair, that was criminal. Yeah, no, that was. But that was a long time ago. Surely the statute of limitations has run out on the illegality of the cat thing. That was 25 years ago now. Surely. Or 20 years. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, so that's worrying. Speaking of worrying, of course, Keir Starmer arriving in Liverpool for the party's conference, and his account has taken to it's shifted slightly from just like, oh, immigrants are bad, aren't they? I'm getting rid of the immigrants, to just doing pointlessness. Like, is ChatGPT writing his tweets for him? So that's just a picture of him and I believe his wife / the body double of his wife / a Ukrainian male prostitute dressed up as his wife. Who knows? And it says, "Together we are choosing a path of renewal towards a fairer country." The fuck does that even mean? That doesn't mean any... That's just... Good thing. We do good thing. Utter pablum. Utter and complete fucking pablum. In a world of Keir Starmer's, be Zack Polanski.
So, your party is in disarray, and if this row proves terminal, the 750,000 people who registered interest could be left with no political home. So the question is, who wins from this fallout? Could it be the Greens for the taking?
Here to talk to us about the Greens' plans to seize the moment is the new party leader, Zack Polanski, who stormed to victory at the start of this month with his promise of a radical, not afraid to pick fights, eco-populism. Zack, welcome back to Pod Save the UK. We'd anticipated there being a bigger gap, but obviously you and I were both at the Trump protests last week. So welcome back for the second time in as many weeks to the show.
I'm very delighted to be here, and I'll come on next week as well.
How have the first weeks been?
And they've been amazing. I caveat that straight away with the world is in turmoil.
Yeah.
And it just feels pretty grim at the moment.
Yeah.
But actually, people say to me constantly, it must really get you down, kind of the state of the world. And I felt this even before I was leader, that if you're an activist in a party or someone who's going out door knocking, there's like a real empowerment to this is all going on, but actually I'm doing something about it. Like every single day, every single moment, there is something I'm working towards. I'm thinking while we record this, we might be about to hit 80,000 members, which is pretty.
That's fucking dope. It wasn't even 70,000 like 2 weeks ago. That's really fucking impressive. Just as it was impressive that Zara Sultana managed to sign up 20,000 in an afternoon. That's fucking big. That's genuinely big, because you got to bear in mind, it's about, to a degree, money, right? You get money coming in, you're able to then spend on elections and fucking advertising and, that sort of thing, and help continue to grow. But actually, the success of the Labour Party lay largely in becoming a genuine mass movement. They had incredible memberships at their peak, especially under Jeremy Corbyn not that long ago. And having that kind of broad-based group of people around the country allows you to get out the vote very effectively in areas where you need to, as long as the organisation is good and you don't have large parts of the parliamentary party trying to stab you in the back and stuff, which, was not unfortunately the case with Jeremy Corbyn. And so having more and more members, once you start creeping up towards like the 100,000 mark, you are a genuine national party at that stage. You're not just one issue party. You're not just just middle class fucking eco wanker party. You're a genuinely national, broad based party at that stage, and that's huge. That gives you a genuine platform with which to build and expand and become like a genuine force, not just not just parliamentarianly. Is that a word? It is now. Fuck it. But it gives you the opportunity to genuinely change the country in ways outside of Parliament. It's okay saying you want to do things. Do some fucking things. You don't need to be in Parliament to do things. That's always been my sort of attitude to it. Engagement with electoral politics is not the same as electoralism. Electoralism is the idea that you can achieve complete socialism through the ballot box, and I don't think you can, especially given that the system's set up specifically to stop not just socialists, but people with more outside the box thinking. So you can't really achieve that through the ballot box. But what you can do is make the world a better place and build the foundations that you need to hopefully sprout a kind of socialist and nascent socialist movement throughout the country. And in saying that, you need people on board with that. And so you need a broad-based party like the Green Party or your party, which, again, someone said in chat yesterday, like, maybe I'd judge them too quickly and maybe they could become a thing. Maybe. Like, I really won't be holding my breath with that because, like, Adnan Hussein's still in there, Like, I'm not jumping on board with a bunch of fucking wankers who are okay with transphobes and landlords, But, maybe they can become something at some stage. I don't know. We'll wait and see. So, yeah, but the whole point is you shouldn't just rely on elected officials. You should get out there into communities. And one of the ways you do that is by having a lot of people who are energized, who want to engage with that. Right? It's not enough to just send out, say you've got 100,000 members, 10% of those are like active campaigning people, whatever. It's not enough to just send them out doing leafleting and stuff. Like, if you're serious about greening communities, you can do that. Councils are absolutely fine with you largely if you get like permission and stuff, which they're more than happy to do most of the time, for you to like fucking plant trees and shit. To put down like fucking as long as they're not invasive foreign species, like plant life and things, you can make an ecological difference without getting a single person elected. Now, you should try and get people elected too, because that can really help as well. Anyway.
Pretty huge for the Green Party. That's over, I think, 10,000 in the last couple of weeks since I won. And those people are turning up to local party meetings and they're saying, we are...
Yeah, but that's mostly because of the tiny king in Yorkshire. Let's be honest. Come on.
We are ready to take on this Labour government and take the fight to reform.
The photo of your winning moment, which I'll describe briefly for listeners of the podcast, Ellie Chown's looking so delighted for you, and you sort of looking so delighted by her. We obviously had both of you in the studio for, a sturdy and robust debate, but there was never a sense that the leadership contest might create actual damage within the party.
No.
And it felt like whichever one of you won, the other one would immediately just be signed up for doing whatever they could to get them elected, basically.
We are very nice in the Green Party.
Yeah.
Like, we take the work seriously, but also there's genuine camaraderie. I remember we were on a...
Okay, but look at that picture again, right? Just look at the picture again. What you see is Ellie Chown's very happy for him. Look at that. Loving it. Loving it. The tiny green queen. Absolutely loving it. Fantastic stuff. Briefcase. I mean, he's clapping. He's doing the right thing, but like that face does not suggest an overwhelming joy at the situation. Now, he did just lose, very embarrassingly, and in public, so I'm not expecting him to be over the moon, but like, come on, you're a briefcase, mate. At least try and sell it. Try and pretend like you're doing respectability politics and not being a bitch. If you could.
I mean, it has been, this is just an aside, but just watching you be in the press recently has been really exciting. They always say...
It has been good. I've enjoyed it.
If you're having fun...
I haven't necessarily watched a lot of it on stream with you, but it has been good. For those who either don't watch the news that much, or if you're in America or whatever, like, he's been on lots of programs and stuff, and he's been around the place. He said he wanted to be like more aggressive in terms of getting onto these different platforms and, shoving the Green Party in everyone's face. And he really has. I think he's... I don't know what the numbers are like, but I would imagine his recognizability ratings amongst like normoids must be much higher now than the previous two leaders were, and they were in office for a year.
The audience is having fun. Obviously, fun is not the right word to be using when we're talking about such serious issues, but maybe energized is the right word. You seem really energized. Clearly, the membership is energized. Are you feeling positive?
Hugely positive. I think fun probably is the right word. I don't think it's only the word. If I was just having fun, then
I was about to say, yeah, I don't know why fun can't be a part of it. Actually, in many respects, this is sort of one of the problems. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't think the two hosts of this podcast are the worst by any means, but they are middle class. This middle class thing of it's serious politics, not fun politics, as if those two things are mutually exclusive. Look, you're seeing this now. There's been a pushback in the British media about, like, is it time for Ed Davey to stop with all the silly gimmicks? No, of course it fucking isn't. A, he seems to genuinely enjoy them, and B, they get publicity for the Liberal Democrats, which is not easy because they are a very, very boring set of wankers. So yeah, why would he stop? Why would he stop doing those things? Look, I'll take the piss out of him like I did the other day with his fucking parade stick outside the conference and all of that to the fucking brass band. Like, he looks a right knob, but it's fine. It's absolutely fine. What's wrong with that? I'd rather have Ed Davey having fun than, like, sensible adults in the room politics that, like, kills people. Although he did kill all of those sub-postmasters. with his bare hands. He can never get the blood to wash away.
I'm probably in the wrong job. Like, there's a lot of serious work to do. But as soon as I won, the first place I went to was a migrants union, United Voices of the World. And I just had this moment where I was like, wow, there's this platform now to be able to highlight people who really need to be highlighted, that issues really need to be highlighted. Not fun in terms of presented, other than on shows like yours. These voices or these stories.
Why's my fucking audio keeps cutting out all the bastard time? I need new fucking headphones, man.
I've had third of the coverage of the Prime Minister. I don't know what I've had compared to Nigel Farage. I'd probably say it's like minuscule. But actually, there's that real sense of if you're having fun, if you've got things to say, then people will cover you. And I don't think it needs to be in an Ed Davey kind of banging drums on a waterboard, whatever he's been up to today kind of thing. And I don't mean that to diss it. But I just think if you don't have something to say that's important and new, you have to kind of do those things. But the Green Party have got really...
Oh, solid little burn. You know what? Good point. If you've got good policies, you don't need to do fucking hand gliding. Yeah. That's a solid dig at the Liberal Democrats. Love it.
important things to say.
Okay, so we're a decent amount of time, probably 4 years away from the next election. Given the approval ratings of the government, they will probably take this parliament long. So you've got 4 years to build a manifesto and a coherent vision for the country. So let's talk about some specifics. What should the UK's immigration system look like?
It should look fair,
Yeah.
and it should be managed in a way that is treating people equally. So if we start with the small boats, now I'm starting there, but it's important to say small boats are 5% of migration, but
Yeah.
they get talked about 95% of the time. I also want to stop the small boats. I don't want to, in terms of legal migration, we've obviously got Farage's. I almost don't want to repeat the frame too much, but the outrageous things that he's been saying this week.
You stun locked her for 2 hours, Jesus Christ. You haven't missed that much. I've only just started, really. Actually, I'm half an hour in, but in terms of the actual content, I've only just started.
Which are just vile. I've
By
spoken
the way, everyone go and follow Katie / Mad Cat Scotty Eye on the Twitch, which I'm almost unbanned from now. It's only a couple of hours now, chat.
so many people this week who are feeling worried and scared about even the possibility of this is now a public conversation. And again, to see Starmer, we saw this with the Island of Strangers speech, and we see it with the fact that he'll criticise it as...
Honestly, his Island of Strangers speech, it's not quite his Rivers of Blood speech, but like that's a mark against him. It will be one of the things that people remember. Because he did a stupid fucking racism. Trying desperately to court the votes of people who think he's a communist pederast. Which is not the kind of pederast they like. They like the kind of pederasts who are like multi-billionaires, like Elon Musk, who is definitely a fucking pederast. He's definitely a pedo. He's a nonce. He's on the Epstein fucking lists. Just like Bannon, just like Trump. They're all there. But don't worry, Trump has announced he's going to release the files on Amelia Earhart. Literally. That's his big distraction. That's his big distraction from the fact that he and fucking Elon Musk and Miller and all these people are on the list, is that he's going to release the files on Amelia Earhart. The pilot from like the 20s or whatever that died. What? I didn't even realise they had files on that. It's just going to say, yeah, she disappeared and that. She went off in a plane and she didn't come back.
not effective enough or not workable enough, as opposed to what we should be saying. This is inhumane, this is immoral, and this actually isn't British. I think we need to reclaim a patriotism and actually say, pride in this country is being proud of your community centre, the people
Oh,
who
1937, not the 20s. Oh, she might have been alive in the 20s, I suppose. But yes, the pilot that went missing, yes. See, technically he is releasing files to do with a person who is dead, whose surname begins with the letter E. So you don't need to ask any more questions about anything, okay? Fact.
who are in your area who don't look or sound like you. Pride or patriotism in this country is recognizing that we can build a better country by recognizing we're so much better by standing together than this divisiveness. The final thing I'd say, though, is I've just said all of this, and I can say it till I'm blue in the face. We need more powerful stories, because actually, I think if people don't feel that the statistics are true, even if they are true, they just kind of go, oh, that just sounds politician-y speak. And I think we've got to find ways of...
No, the CIA didn't exist in the 1930s, no. The CIA was... it came out of the SO... Is it the S... Hang on, no, what was it called? SSO or something. There was an organisation the Americans set up to spy on people during the war, which eventually morphed into the CIA. With Dulles and all that fucking shite. Yes, so no, they did not exist. OSS, that was the fucking thing. OSS.
Telling powerful stories that really connect with people. And one example of that was I was in Clacton the other day. I met a guy called Paul on the street who said to me that too much migration. And then he said, I'm Irish. I don't hate migrants. I come from a migrant family. But look at my community. This is his words, not mine. It's a shithole. And then you're telling me more people need to come over. So I've invited him onto my podcast. So I'm not promoting a podcast on another podcast.
No, you are. You definitely are. And you know what? I reckon a game recognises game. I like it. He's on his Sigma grind set. No, I got a dingus. Don't take the piss. I got mixed up with the SOE, which was the Secret Operations Executive, which was a similar but slightly different organisation that the British set up at sort of the same time for some of the same reasons. Leave me alone.
Podcast, but bold politics with Zack Polanski. I'll make sure in the next one to shout out Pod crossover. But I invited him onto the podcast because actually I think that kind of conversation and that kind of story is really important for people to hear. That very often people are not coming from a I hate migrants point of view. They're coming from a look at my community, I'm scared, it's not had investment, and that needs to change. And I think when we have the conversations about taxing multimillionaires and billionaires and redistributing that power and that wealth, that's, I think, how we rebuild communities, and that's how we need to deal with the immigration discussion.
That feeds pretty organically into a conversation about the economy. When Tom McTague was on this show, the New Statesman editor, he talked about his concern that Starmer believed that there was no problem with the actual infrastructure of the British state and the British economy. It had just been poorly managed. And now that is something that for a lot of us who've grown up, particularly in the aftermath of the financial crisis, seems completely counterintuitive to our experience. So what is the Green Party under Zack?
Well, it's not just that it's counterintuitive, it's that it's wrong. Keir Starmer is wrong. Because Keir Starmer comes from fundamentally I'm a lawyer now, so the only world I see is the posh world. Like, he's come a long way from the pebble-dashed semi and all of that jazz, okay? His father, the tool maker, who presumably also had lots of flags everywhere, patriotic something. He's lived a very, very upper middle class life now for the last 30 years. He doesn't know what Britain actually is. That's why he's still enamoured with Blairism, because Blairism was an answer to a problem that existed when the last time he had any real connection to the real Britain. He's been inside the M25, living in a world of lawyers and judges and peers and fucking, lords and ladies. So of course that makes sense to him. He thinks it's still 1995. When was this aired? He used this story a few times. We stopped saying the other day when it was a month or so ago. This was aired 2 days ago. So yeah. Kev, do you like Nish? Nish Kumar's alright, yeah. He can be a bit of a lib, but like he's a good lad, I think. And he pisses off the right people. So I'm very much on board with that. And he's a funny cunt. Like, fundamentally, as a comedian, you have to make people laugh. And he does make me laugh.
Zack Polanski's vision for how we redraw the economy of this country?
Well, the first thing is we need to have a conversation about privatisation. The water companies are the most obvious ones here, where it's often talked about like taking water into public hands would be an experiment. It's completely the other way around. Privatisation was the experiment, and privatisation has utterly failed. Whether we're talking about the movement...
See, this is absolutely what we need. A politician who's going to say it straight like that. That's fucking awesome. Just straight away, yeah, no, privatisation was the experiment and it fucking failed. And it needs to end. Fuck yes. I've been screaming for some cunt to say this. If only we'd had a Labour Party leader who was saying this. Oh yeah, no, we did. Is Keir Starmer admitting he's a tool when, since his dad made him? Yes, 255. Yes, he is.
Of council homes to private landlords, and whether we're talking about water companies who took that those water infrastructure with £0 debt and now have billions and billions of pounds of debt. They're pumping sewage into the water and charging us extra for the privilege. And the reason why I start there is because every time anyone hears from me, particularly from the first time, the first thing I want them to know about me is I want to lower their bills. I think above everything else, we need to recognise people in this country.
Literally. Like, Keir Starmer's out here like, oh, together we are choosing a path of renewal towards a fairer country. And yet, look, a fucking butter costs 10 quid now. A Freddo, you can't get a Freddo for under a fucking quid in most places. Look, what the fuck? This is not the answer to anything. He doesn't live in the real world because he can afford fucking £2 Freddo. He don't give a fuck. Not that he buys Freddos, but you know what the point I'm making is it wouldn't matter to him. He can afford to waste thousands of pounds on nonsense. Especially seems though he doesn't have to buy his ticket at the fucking Arsenal, the cunt. Anyway, the point is, people can't afford anything. So going on about patriotic renewal doesn't get you anywhere.
We are tired and exhausted. Their wages are not going up, but the bills are going up. And so we need to lower the bills and raise wages. And one of the number ways we could do this is by stopping this kind of exploitation of every single person in this country who uses a water company that has been sold off for private profit at our expense, and we're paying the consequences for that. So I think the first thing is about having a big national conversation about public ownership. Nothing we need and need to use should be in private hands. All of those things, all of our utilities should be national.
Yeah, I buy butter. Yeah, no, I'll be honest with you now. I buy butter. I buy proper butter. I buy solid blocks of Kerrygold, okay? Because when I have toast, I want to be able to fucking taste that shit. Okay? You can stick your margarine up your arsehole. I said it. I fucking said it. Okay? I can't believe it's not butter. I can believe it's not butter, because it's fucking not. Pricks.
And then I think the next thing...
If you want to fund my butter addiction, you can do bits and sobs. I need it because I've lost a week's worth of fucking nonsense on Twitch. Buy me butter!
Thing is about fair taxation system. I've already talked about a wealth tax on assets. People will often
Yeah,
say
Kerrygold
just
is the
leave.
shit,
The important
man.
thing to say is it's on assets. So that means, you know, the Duke of Westminster owns half of Mayfair. He can't just pick up and take Mayfair. He might be a very strong man, but you know, he'll struggle to do that.
He's not playing a game of Monopoly.
Right, exactly.
Even in Monopoly, you can't do that without getting a pair of scissors and cutting the Mayfair square off the board.
There's a video in that. I like it. So when I'm talking about taxing the super rich, I'm not talking about your hairdresser, your plumber, someone running a small business, someone who's running a corner shop. I don't know who. It's not about taxing people's ambition. It's talking about people who, when they go to sleep at night, earn more money than any of us could possibly earn, or make more money than any of us could possibly earn.
Yeah, I was about to say, they don't earn it. They're asleep. by definition, they are not earning anything, except possibly mourning wood. I will give them that. They earn that. That's fine.
In a lifetime. And that's the point. They're not earning it, they're making it. It's on their assets and it's obscene. And so a fair taxation system to redress that, I think, is really, really important. And then finally, this is a bit more geeky, but I'll do it quickly, bringing capital gains tax in line with income tax.
Yes, I feel like we're doing a sort of whistle-stop tour through a potential Green Party manifesto.
I love it.
But let's talk about foreign policy briefly now. Obviously, over the weekend...
we need to nationalise Palestine. I mean, very literally in the sense that they need to be, like, actually allowed to be a nation. So in that sense, we actually do need to get it out of private hands, i.e. the Zionists, into the hands of the public, the people of Palestine. So that joke doesn't even really work, because it's just true. Nationalise Palestine.
The UK, along with a wave of states, formally declared recognition of Palestinian statehood. It's a long overdue move. It sparked fury from Israel. It sparked criticism from people within the United Kingdom who've said that it's not going far enough.
The Israelis being butthurt about this is fucking amazing. They do this thing, where they're all like, "Oh, you." Obviously, they're accusing everyone of being anti-Semitic because that's literally their only thing, you know. In case of any pushback, the old faithful anti-Semitism, you know, which, by the way, makes actual accusations of anti-Semitism less easy to believe, therefore making Jewish people's lives more difficult and dangerous. But then again, Zionists never really cared about that. But you can tell how desperate they are for any kind of win, because they dredged up the great nation of New Zealand. The great nation of New Zealand, unfortunately not great on this occasion, have said that they are not currently planning to recognise the state of Palestine. And the Zionists have been like, see, New Zealand gets it. I'm sorry, lads. No offence to the people of New Zealand, you know I loves you. But if that's how low down the pecking order you have to go to get to fucking New Zealand, I think you might have lost the argument. I think you might have actually really, really lost the argument. When the best case you've got, when the best, like, here's our shining star example is fucking New Zealand. Like, come on now. Unless you're talking about rugby union, New Zealand is not, like, in the top tier of nations. It just isn't. I suppose cricket to a certain extent, but, you know, they come and go in that, I suppose.
And is too little too late. What would the Greens' position be moving forward in how the UK navigates its relationship with the Israeli government and a potential Palestinian state that's just been recognised?
Yeah, it's right to recognise Palestine, and I'm pleased the government's done it. But at the same time, they're still arming Israel. They're still sharing intelligence with Israel, and Israel are committing a genocide. So there's no kind of strong enough words of condemnation for the cynicism of saying, we recognise your state, we're just arming the country, though, that is potentially trying to kill every single person who exists there. And it doesn't get much darker than that. I'm also aware, I just want to spend a moment to talk about the flotilla that is going to Gaza as we speak. This is a group of peace activists who are carrying aid, who are trying to breach to get the aid into Gaza. Now, it's important to say it's symbolic. There's
Honestly, Greta is getting better.
not enough aid there.
That's a bar.
To be able to do enough. But I think we all have a responsibility in public life to talk about this flotilla as much as possible, because the people on that need to be kept safe, and the only way they can be kept safe is for the world's eyes to be on that flotilla.
Exactly.
More widely to your question.
Because if people aren't watching and talking about it, Israel would kill them. Israel wouldn't think twice about killing them. The only reason they haven't so far is that some of the people on board are just about popular enough that someone would miss if they didn't exist anymore. Because one of them was like an actor in, I think, Game of Thrones or something. One of them's Greta Thunberg, who's sort of well known. Like there are a couple of people there who, like, people would miss their existence, and so there might be a noticing, which Israel can't allow. So they'll like sink the odd ship, but they don't want to like murder them. Yeah. I thought you were still in Helena's chat. No, I was in Helena's chat earlier. Mostly shitposting, to be honest. I was going on about Andy Burnham being the vanguard of the proletariat revolution. So, I was having a real serious one. Yeah. Liam Cunningham, that's the man's name, yes. He's a very good Irishman. Many are. Some are cunts, though. Colin McGregor is a thing that exists. Whilst we're talking about divs who are sports people, or ex-sports people, Joey Barton is a very, very stupid human being. Former Manchester City and QPR midfielder. Technically, England midfielder. He's a very stupid boy.
I said to you, I felt Charlie Kirk getting killed is actually a bigger moment, a more seismic moment in history than Martin Luther King getting killed.
He's a grown man. He's a grown man with children and stuff. He's a grown human being. And he just said that out loud. Seriously. He wasn't a shitpost. He wasn't taking the piss. He genuinely believes that to be true. Britney Spears got put into a conservatorship for less than that.
Right? It will be remembered. It will be remembered by our kids and maybe their kids as a seismic.
They've already forgotten, you daft cunt. The Conservatives have already forgotten that Charlie Kirk ever existed. It's moved on. Charlie who? They literally, it's nothing. It's literally nothing. It's a seismic moment. Honestly, we need to save this clip. We need to save this clip and shove it in this stupid cunt's face forever. Charlie Kirk dying is more seismic than Martin Luther King's assassination. They don't employ footballers for their intelligence, do they? They don't really. Footballers get by not necessarily having to think, and it shows. Thank you to new people who've come in. Did someone say? Was there a raid? I think there was a raid or something, wasn't there? Yeah. Anyway, to whomever so raided, thank you. And thank you to the new people coming in. You can hit the follow button. It's sexy. And I know it. Wiggle, 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 yeah. Wiggle, 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 yeah. Wiggle, 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 yeah. Wiggle, 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 yeah, yeah. I do the wiggle, man. I do the wiggle, man. Oh, Helen in it. Well, everyone go and follow No Justice MTG, obviously. If you're not already, I will fuck you up. Spiritually.
Moment similar to, but I think actually way above Martin Luther King. And I said,
idiot. Fucking idiot. He was always an idiot, but especially an idiot now. God damn.
We need to end the occupation, and we need to make sure that we're finding a way forward that involves both Israelis and Palestinians at that table. I don't think that's...
KFLMAO good. Works. I'm having it.
The British government to decide. I think we've already interfered enough in terms of the Balfour Declaration and the mess that we've created.
True.
But I do think there's a role for third countries. I suppose the final thing I'd say is I'm one of 5 Jewish people who have been in leadership positions in British political history in the last 100 years. So I feel the responsibility towards what is rising anti-Semitism in our country and the rise...
True. I did have to sort of point
Oil
out,
like a baby otter.
I did have to point out burp. No, I did have to point out. Oh no, we've got polite company in. Oh no, I'm not like that. I do serious news talk. I've been on with Curtis on Turn Left and
Oil
everything.
like a baby otter.
Hit the follow button and thumb it up. Do you work out, Kev? Does it fucking look like I work out? I mean, technically, the only squats I do is when I'm bending
Oil
down
like
to
a
get
baby
food out of the
otter.
bottom shelf of the freezer. That's the kind of squats I do. I never skip that leg day. Fuck yes. No, look, no, I'm fat and happy. I don't give a fuck.
Oil like a baby otter.
Alright, yeah, oil like a baby otter, you cunt. Shut up. Right. Yes, sorry, he was saying there about being a Jewish leader in British politics. That's true. That I did have to have a slight historical, like,
Oil like a baby otter.
moment with former Labour leader Miliband, David Miliband. No, Ed Miliband. David Miliband is his brother, who lost. LOL! Anyway, yeah, Ed, he of the eating sausage sandwiches slightly weirdly and therefore is not allowed to be Prime Minister, but killing 300,000 people is fine. Because, you know, British priorities and all of that jazz. Anyway, he said that he wanted to be Britain's first Jewish Prime Minister. Which would be nice, but for the fact that we already had one. Now, technically speaking, he wouldn't have been called Prime Minister. So, but I don't think that's the technicality I'm going to allow him to get away with. Because he's holding the position that is now referred to as Prime Minister. That man being Benjamin Disraeli. Who was spiritually he was a Christian, actually, but was of Jewish extraction via his mother's side, which makes him actually, like, under Jewish blood law Jewish. Yeah. So there's that. And he never tried to deny that he was Jewish. He didn't hide it or anything. Didn't promote it either, because lots of anti-Semites existed, but, you know, he didn't hide it. And his name was Disraeli, for fuck's sake, like... It's like being called Greenblatt. Like, I mean, yeah, you might be a Christian, but, like, I'm gonna guess there might be some Jewish ancestry there. Maybe. Anyway. Look, if I meet someone called O'Shaughnessy, I don't give a fuck if they speak in a Cockney accent. I think they might have some Irish there. You know. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Either way, I hope that Zack Polanski becomes Britain's second Jewish Prime Minister. That would be awesome. I'm not going to hold my breath on that, but, like, you know, fuck it. If Nigel Farage can do it, maybe a sensible human being can at some point. Not sensible in that, you know what I mean. Fuck's sake. Anyway, noises happen. Michael, can we not do that kind of humour in chat, please? I don't like that. You sound more appealing all the time. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Anyway, thank you, Andrina Websdale, for 5 gifted memberships on the YouTube. Yeah, you can also help out in the form of memberships, or on you can do super chats, which I will read out, and they also come with an amusing sound alert of Gennaro Gattuso, a person that some of you will have heard of and many will not. Is he the first openly gay party leader? Well, he's not gay, is he? I thought he was a disgusting half sodomite, like myself. Can we? Okay, let's stop with the weird Jewish pronunciation humour. in chat if we can, please. Like, I'm not gonna like shout at you because I don't think you're being like intentionally fucking weird. But we can do better than that. Let's keep it above that kind of level, shall we? He's not allowed to do a Connery. Was he doing a Connery there, Scooby? I don't think that's what that was. I don't think that's what was taking place there. So, you know. Isn't he married to a bloke? I think he is married to a man or in a relationship with a man, but like, I was fucking a man a few days ago. That doesn't mean I'm entirely gay. Although I'll be honest with you, busting your nut feels the same either way, if I'm entirely honest. He has ID as bi in the past, but currently goes by gay. Oh, okay. Well, if he says he's gay, that's cool. Okay. Is he the first openly gay one? I suppose the first one who was happy to say he was gay. Yes. Now we've all had rumours of certain people, but for a fact, what was his name? The liberal chap who was outed back in the 70s. What was his name? For using young male escorts. I've forgotten his name now. Someone in chat will know what I'm talking about. So clearly he was a bit that way, even if he didn't want to like admit it publicly. And it might even still have been, was it technically illegal at the time? It might have been, no, 70s, no, it would have been legal, but not the prostitution part of it. Certainly not. Thorpe, there we go. Yes. He was the leader of the Liberal Party at the time and was liked a bit of cock. Just saying.
Islamophobia in our country.
I'm much too sensitive for this busting and nut talk. You realise we're going to be talking about like genocide and stuff as well, right? If busting a nut's too much for you, this channel might not be for you, friend. Yeah. Cameron liked a bit of cock, apparently. No, Cameron liked a bit of pork, but in a very different way. In a very different way. Prostitution is legal. Depends exactly how it's done, grand dude. And it certainly wasn't back then. It was very much not legal then. Because again, we're talking about like the early 70s. So, is Kevin Jewish? Kevin is not of that faith or that heritage. But he wants you to know there's literally nothing wrong with that. I'm reminded of the great the quote from J.R.R. Tolkien, who was often accused of anti-Semitism because in some of the books there are some, let's say, overtones of anti-Semitic type chicanery. But when his books were being published in Nazi Germany, before the war, obviously, he was written to by the publisher, the German equivalent publisher, to his publisher, because there were strict rules about Jewish writers, be they from inside or outside of Germany. And so the author was like legally bound to write to him and say, are you of Jewish extraction? And he wrote a very eloquent and wonderful response. And I forget the exact wording, but it was something along the lines of, I have not been fortunate enough to have been a member of that fine and talented tribe, was the phrase he used. But said that if they weren't prepared to write to publish Jewish authors, they ought not publish him either, and that he stood with his Jewish fellow humans, which was not an opinion universally held by Catholics at the time. He was a Catholic man. A lot of Catholics very, very anti-Semitic. And yeah, J.R. Tolkien was not really one of them. Fair play to him. Tolkien and Adolf faced each other in the Battle of the Somme. They did, albeit unlikely they would have ever got even close to shooting at one another, because Adolf Hitler didn't really technically fight in the same way that... Like, he wasn't front line, he was a message runner. Still dangerous, to be sure, but he wasn't like... He wasn't in the front lines, like, fucking shooting at people. I'm not trying to rag on people who did fucking message running, it was very dangerous, but... When you say they faced each other, they didn't quite face each other. Whereas some of the poor cunts were like, 150 yards away from one another. Like literally within range of like a well-aimed grenade. Just fucking awful. Absolute fucking carnage. Unbelievable.
These are two sides of the same coin, and when they come for one community, they come for all of us. And so some of my favourite work that I've done and I see happening around the country is interfaith work, where our communities stand together, because I think the only authentic response to all of this is solidarity between those communities.
So we've got to talk about Corbyn and Zara Sultana's. Your party, it's imploded.
Your tone of voice made me think you're going to talk about hypnotherapy, by the way. We've got to talk about hypnotherapy, so much rather talk about Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana.
Hypno boob, hypno boob, hypno boob. We're very pro hypno boob on this channel. Okay? He may shy away from the one true path of the hypno boob. People aren't ready for that truth yet. Okay? They scoffed at Jesus when he brought up the hypno boob. So he started going on about, like, loving your neighbour and all that fucking woke shit. Hypno boob is the one true path.
Sultana. We can talk about that too, but I was just like, oh, okay, here we go, Coco.
Oh, you mean because of these headlines that previously in the past you were a hypnotherapist?
Yeah, I mean, one story from 12 years ago, but yeah.
What is this about? Just for our listeners, it's been recirculating in the political press.
I've dug a hole for myself here, haven't I? Once I won the Green Party leadership, apparently the Labour Party took less than a minute to tweet out this story again.
Okay.
And what's really noticeable about that is they congratulated Kemi Badenoch when Nigel Farage won. Keir Starmer crossed the chamber to go reach him. But when I won, they went on an all-out attack. And obviously I didn't know this, the BBC told me live. They said, did you know the Labour Party have just...
Who's this Kevin that won the Tory party? They congratulated Kevin. I didn't win the Tory party contest. What? Don't know who that is.
So pleased, my response was, they said, how do you feel? I went, I'm absolutely delighted. The Labour government, I'm that scared. They've gone on the attack within 30 seconds. It's very easy to explain. So 12, 13 years ago, Sun journalist said to me, would you do an article about body image? Okay. And I was working with, in drama schools, particularly, you guys will have been around drama schools, with young women who are facing the mirror kind of constantly, particularly ballet dancers who... were suffering from all sorts of things, anorexia, bulimia, eating disorders, but generally confidence. And so I was doing a lot of work around body confidence. And the Sun said, would you do an article about this? I said, sure. They said...
that was your first mistake?
Yeah, well, someone said to me the other day, it's a quote, if someone says they work for the Sun and they're a journalist, both of those things can't be true.
True.
I was like, great. Anyway, they then suggested this, and I said, that sounds absolutely absurd. I'm not going to do that. And they said, would you do it as an experiment? And I said, as long as you make it really clear, not something I do, not something I charge for, and this is just because you've asked me to. They then wrote, actually, what was a really lovely article that tells me that I can do these things, which I was quite surprised about, and that I charged £220 to do it. And I went out on BBC Radio the next day, so not 12 years later when I became a politician, but literally the next day to go, this article doesn't represent me. And by the way, to all the men in my email box, this doesn't work on other body parts either. And although I'm joking about it, I'd say...
Hypnocock! Fuck yes! Please don't clip that.
I'd say two things. Tony Benn, one of my favourite politicians, said, I don't care where you came from, I care where you're going. And what I'd say is to people, I can understand why this is an odd story if it's the first time someone's met me. But look at the history and record I've got in the last few years as deputy leader for standing up for marginalised people, for speaking out against violence.
Oh, is Kevin home alone? Oh, I just got that. Yeah. I'm going to use comic Rube Goldberg machines to thwart two very ineffective house robbers. Yes.
Some women and girls.
I watched that film a million times when I was a kid. We had it on VHS. It was fucking shit. I'm just going to put it out there. Rubbish film. But I still watched it a million times because we had like 8 tapes.
The work I continue to do on body image and challenging the media and the advertising industry for the awful kind of images that they're projecting every single day. And I'd say the second thing is I didn't at 16, 17 decide to be a politician. And I meet so many politicians who have been doing it their entire life, who don't believe in anything. It was always about getting to the role. And actually, this one story is embarrassing. And by the way, I've got lots more embarrassing stories. The Sun got in touch with me 2 days ago. I can't believe I'm telling this story too. You guys are very good. They got in touch with me. I was in a play in 2012 with Michael Parr, who's an actor from Emmerdale. He played Ross Barton, or plays Ross Barton. And the Sun got in touch with the Green Party press office to say, by the way, we've got a picture of Zack Polanski in a play, shirtless, stimulating oral sex on Michael Parr, and we're going to print it. So I got in touch with Michael and said, what should we do about this? He said, I've already replied, it wasn't stimulated.
Well done, Michael.
And they've not run the story yet, but anyway, I'm sure that's one's coming out in the next few days. But you know, I was getting paid as an actor. People have jobs when they're not politicians, and I don't regret a second.
Yeah. But anyway, what I did want to talk to you about, but I'm really glad we made this diversion.
That was all a ruse to not talk about Jeremy Corbyn and Zara. I was like, throw the boobs on the table.
Exactly. I'm sure you've been following what's been going on with your party. I don't know what will happen now with the party. It all remains to be seen. It has obviously been a little bit of an embarrassment. I think that's fair to say. Almost 1,400 people signed up to the Greens in the 24 hours after the row went public. So I think, you know, one does need to ask about if this is beneficial to the party. And I do want to just read you a comment
from
one
no doubt it's beneficial. I've seen lots of people, and again, it's online, but like, they're still fucking people, right? Going like, you know, I had a lot of hope for the Your Party, but like, clearly I'm just going to have to throw my lot in with the Greens. Even though they might have reservations about the Greens, but like, yeah. Like, they're the only game in town now because Your Party's a load of shite. And that's true, like, it's not even just... and I don't want to shit on them because I think Jeremy Corbyn's still a decent person, and I like Zara Sultana, and a lot of the people who are going to sign up for that are probably going to be fucking awesome people. But like, how progressive is a party going to be that Adnan Hussein is a member of? Like, sorry, I'm not. Yeah, I can't say that a person who's a transphobe and a landlord, so like socially conservative and economically conservative, is that a person you want to be in a party with? Lovely.
One of our listeners, Jonathan, he wrote, it seems the left's penchant for self-immolation has been satisfied once again. I sympathise with Zara enormously, as she's clearly been mistreated by the Labour Party, the media and the public in so many ways, but I'm concerned that she is hoisting herself by her...
I will not carry a shotgun ID. If you mean you're against the digital ID, I am also very much against the digital ID, but I don't know what you mean by a shotgun ID. Because you need a license to have a shotgun in Britain. That's just a fact. There's no fucking Second Amendment here. Yeah. So, like, you can either have a license for a shotgun, or you can be arrested for illegally owning shotguns. Those are your two options, I think.
Own moral puritard. I guess my question is it time to throw everything behind the Green Party? So what do you think?
It was time months ago, if I'm honest. You know, we are the party of environmental, social, racial and economic justice. We got nearly 2 million votes at the last election in 39 places where we're in second place. Our membership is rising, so I think there's clearly a very obvious reason to join the Green Party. And I would say that as a separate question to your party. What I don't want to do, though, is put the boot in, because actually I really like Zara, I really like Jeremy, and I think the politics they're talking about is important.
See, that's the right attitude. Not only just generally, because that's literally what I said, but like, he's a sensible politician. And again, I don't mean that in that, oh, sensibles, adults in the room. I mean, like, he's got his fucking head screwed on, right? If you want to grow your party, why not your party as in your party, right? If you want to grow the Green Party, the party you are a leader of, and there is a potential groundswell of people who might join your party who are currently disillusioned with the organisation, if not necessarily the politics of the people in your party. Don't go out and be like, yeah, Jeremy Corbyn's a fuck up. What a loser. Wanker. Like, no. You do the conciliatory, like, I really like them as people. And I think they've got a lot of important things to say. And ultimately, if your party doesn't quite get off the ground, we are absolutely here as a home, a natural home for those people. That's what you gotta say. Boom.
And I've meant what I've said for weeks now. I'm sick of being, this is an exception, but on a panel of people where everyone, is a couple of steps away from Satan or, Mussolini, where I'm just like, and that's presented as centrism. And like people turn to you and you go, what, you want a ceasefire? As like, that's like the most ludicrous. So
you don't think children should be dying?
Right, exactly. And so for more people we have like Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana in our public life who have a microphone in front of them, I think that's a completely positive thing. I see that as a separate question to, people sometimes say to me, I join the Green Party, but this one policy I don't agree with. And I'm like, we're a fully democratic party. We're literally one member, one vote. So if you don't like a policy, as long as, the policy you want to change isn't, misogyny, racism, homophobia, or transphobia, those aren't one.
Yeah, like, I like your environmentalism, but can we be incredibly racist about it, please? That's not on the agenda. No. Basically the kind of soft end of the Conservative Party. Like, green policies, we like green policies, but can we, like, fire nuclear missiles at the small boats? Please. Satnav, for legal reasons I have to say disavow. And only for legal reasons.
Welcome in the Green Party. But if it's a genuine policy difference around, something specific, then join the party and lobby from within the party because it's one member, one vote, and that's how our policies get changed. So I think there is a puritanism sometimes to, I'm not joining the Green Party because, in 2014, your one person said this or I disagreed with this. I'm like, fascism's at our door. And at some point, we've got to move on. And that's, again, is no diss to your party. But what I am saying, and I think is undeniably true, is we're up and running, we've got momentum, and we've got a genuinely democratic structure. One of my favourite things that someone on my team said, I probably shouldn't repeat this as well, but I'm still going to say it. He said, we elected him today and we're going to fight him tomorrow. And I just think there's I embrace that. Like, I'm the leader of
I'm genuinely fascinated by this. Shotgun ID like a shotgun wedding, Kev. Not for me. But those two things are not really the same, are they? An ID, a government-mandated ID, whilst not necessarily always a good idea, there are certain things I think that's worth having, like for, say, a driver's license, right? Technically, it is force of a kind, the government forcing you to have to take lessons to learn how to do the thing competently and then show that you can do it competently, and then have an assessment ongoing based on things you do, like you can get points on your license for committing offences and things, and if you commit too many of them, you have it taken away from you. I think that's a relatively sensible system. Whereas a shotgun wedding is literally threatening to murder somebody unless they do a thing you don't like. So those two things are not the same. So, like, if you mean you want to get rid of gun ID laws here in the UK, I mean, you were allowed to have that opinion, of course, but I think that's a very silly opinion, and I don't think it's one that's going to carry with much muster for anybody. Like, even the Reform Party, who would probably agree with that kind of silliness, don't have it as a policy because they know that no one wants that. Like, Americans might find it very strange, but people generally are very in favour of our incredibly restrictive gun regulations here in the UK. Because we had a gun shooting in a school, and we went, should we do stuff to stop that from happening again? Because that was a very unpleasant experience. We'd rather not have that repeated, and then we passed laws to stop that from happening. And now it doesn't happen. Whereas in America, they took the exact opposite And they went, shall we do nothing about that and hope it goes away? And it hasn't gone away, has it? It's happening all the fucking time. It's as American as apple pie or genocide of First Nations people.
A party, but we're a grassroots party, and we never get to a position where leadership are more important than the membership. So whether you join the party 2 months ago or you join the party straight after this interview, just another subtle hint there, you have as much power as the leader in terms of you go to conference. In fact, you've been to our conference, haven't you? And you can vote. You couldn't vote because you're not a member. Sorry, I was just trying not to put you in the neutral waters there.
I was there to observe.
Yeah,
That was
exactly.
my role.
But when you come to the next conference, as a member, and you get up and deliver, a fantastic speech, that's when I'll be up and applauding. But seriously, if people don't like policies, then we have mechanisms to change them.
No, I was interested because obviously the conversation around your party, they're now talking about it becoming our party, the MPs taking a step back and it being led by its members. In what way would that be different to the Greens?
In absolutely no way whatsoever. So this is what confuses me. And I suppose if I think about what might someone in the comments be saying right now, which is always a dangerous thing.
I thought a shotgun wedding was a quick wedding. Well, I mean, it is quick, but my understanding of a shotgun wedding was literally like back in the day when two young people had been canoodling, i.e. sinning in the eyes of God, and the birthing person, and I am deliberately using that phrase to annoy transphobes, the birthing person in question became with child in order to sanctify that in the eyes of God, even though, like, surely God knows when you came in her. Like, just because you're getting married, you can pretend to everyone else that you were married first, but, like, God knows. Anyway. Yeah, then the father or other kinsfolk of the now pregnant person would go round to the house of the aforementioned comer and point a gun at him and say, you will marry this person or I will shoot you in the fucking head. Hence, being married at the point of a shotgun. Now, presumably they didn't take the shotgun into the church with them. Presumably at that point, like, the person goes, yeah, okay, I'll marry her, and they put the shotguns away, and everyone's, like, under the understanding that if he backs out at any point, the shotguns can come back out. But, like, presumably it's not literally at the point of a shotgun. Although in America, probably the churches allow you to have shotguns. Can they even legally stop you? It does say without, was it, the shall not be infringed whatsoever, you know. Can churches say you're not allowed to bring in your shotgun to this wedding ceremony?
We think about those kind of things. But they're saying, but the Green Party has three problems. One, people don't care about the environment enough. Two, you're middle class. Three, you're not diverse enough. So let's start with the environment one. Yeah. I've just won the leadership with 85% of the vote on a very, very clear message that the party is behind, which is we will always care about the environment. That's never going away. But you can't be an environmentalist without tackling inequality. The Green Party, incidentally, used to be called the People Party. And so, I think those roots are still there, which is ultimately we're about grassroots power and community.
For NIMBYs. Well, to be fair, the NIMBYs thing sort of ties in with the middle class thing. Because, like, working class people don't get the chance to be NIMBYs, by and large. They just have stuff built, like, just on top of their fucking house. Like, we're just knocking your fucking houses down. Fuck you, right? Which is literally happening, by the way, to the area I grew up in. My mother's house is currently, I think it's like 10 years away or something, but they're planning to knock down the entire estate where I grew up. To build like an extension for a motorway, and then they're going to rebuild some of the houses, and obviously they're not going to be able to fucking afford to live there anymore because it's going to be fancy new fucking shiny big houses or whatever. But technically they'll be affordable, some of them. Technically. Anyway. The point being, working class people don't get to like be NIMBYs. So the NIMBY thing and the middle class thing are a kind of a circle in a circle.
Organising, that's already there. In terms of being diverse and working class, I think it's a myth from years ago. Actually, when I look at the elected councillors we've got, they're more and more diverse, they're more and more from working class places. are we as diverse and working class as I want us to be? No, there's still loads of work to do. But politics isn't as diverse and working class as I want it to be.
Very much so. Yeah, bringing a gun to the hand of the place of worship reminds me of that fantastic fucking argument that someone once made. You know, back in the 80s, the reason that the Pope Mobile has like a dome bit to it was because the Pope was assassinated. They used to just have like a regular sort of car that he would sit on the back of and wave to the crowds as they drove through the streets of the Vatican, right? And then someone shot the Pope. He survived for quite a long time. You know, he was shot back in the 80s, and then I remember him growing up. He was very much around. And so they put the protective thing anyway. But he was shot, right, and the bullet went like through his fucking abdomen and shit. And I remember someone making the argument that God protected the Pope by deflecting the bullet away from his vital organs. Now, I can't disprove that point, because how could you? But if I were the Pope, and I'm not saying I'm not, I'm just saying if I were, I'd want a little bit better from God. Like, if you've got the power to deflect the bullet, deflect it away from all of me. Deflect it over there, just up in the air. No one gets hurt then. Just give me like a papal bulletproof vest type situation, so it just bounces off. Like, so you were okay with me going through the agony of having just my stomach blown to fucking pieces. That was fine. But thanks for not letting it go through a lung. That would have been terrible. Look, I'm your top representative. I'm your top boy. And you're letting me get fucking gut shot? You're a bellend. What kind of fucking health and safety practice is this? Honestly, this place should get shut down. Catholicism should be shut down on health and safety grounds. If it treats its top workers that badly, think how it treats its bottom workers. Bottom being not necessarily a choice, unfortunately.
And so the solution there is not just to sit outside the party and go, oh, when you're perfect, then I'll join. The solution is to join the party, get involved with the organising, and help get us to an even better place.
Because we asked Zara Sultana what the difference is.
Ah, great.
And she said, we're a socialist party. How do you feel about that?
I mean, we're a socialist party, and I think, again, I don't want to get into... I wouldn't get into spats with Jeremy and Zara, because, again, I respect them a lot, but I think that's a lazy answer. All the policies I've just been talking about to you, if that's not going to have socialism on it, I don't know what it...
Whoa, Vogel. The Kev was an altar server, and at no point did a priest ever molest me. And that wasn't just because I was a very ugly child, although I was, and, obviously, but,
Is there a question of, do we shout that we're a socialist party regularly? No, because I think most people don't know what that means, and you switch people off. So instead I talk about lowering bills, about the public ownership of
that's fair enough, actually.
Public services, clues in the title, and tax.
Yeah, you don't need a politician, like, you don't need a political leader to go out there and start doing like theoretical discussions about whether it's socialism or fucking socialism with British characteristics, or democratic this and fucking participatory fucking prefigurative wank, all of that. Who gives a fuck about that? No one's voting for that fucking dumb shit, okay? Not saying that's not important, but keep it to academia, right? In politics, you need some cunt out there telling people things they actually want to hear. And no one knows what the fuck any of that is. And no one really cares what any of that is. Not to say it's not important and won't affect their lives positively. So you can implement it at some point if you get any semblance of like power. But what people want is like to be able to afford food and heating. So you need to tell them that A, you're going to allow that to happen. You're going to make sure that they can do that. And this is how. That's when people will listen to you. Saying I'm the revolutionary vanguard of the Marxist, Leninist, blah, 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 no one cares. Shut the fuck up.
Is on multimillionaires and billionaires. These are all socialist policies, and they're all embedded and deep within the Green Party.
The thing that struck me about the demonstration last week was that, you know, you were there, Zara and Jeremy were there. Sadly, the Labour Party wasn't represented there, but we know from interviews we've conducted on this show.
Clive Lewis
with
is great on this.
Clive Lewis, we know Nadia Whittome. We've spoken.
I don't know. I'm in two minds about this Obermann dread. I'm very, very, very anti-guns. Just thinking about the civilian casualties. Oh my God. No, you're crying. Just saying. What does that mean? I'm lost, chat. Does anyone speak gibberish? Because I'm getting gibberish now. Very big jib vibes. No idea. If you can translate that, you can do so in the form of a super chat. Sigma grindset, bitches. Let's fucking go. You can also become a member, although you can't really do a message with that, I don't think. But you can give me money. That is a thing you can do. And why not? Is that a picture of... I've just noticed that in the background, by the way. Is that a picture of Nish Kumar over fucking Jacob Rees-Mogg lounging on the front benches of Parliament? That's a fucking awesome picture. I do enjoy that.
Spoken to Labour MPs that are sympathetic towards these views. How do we harness the political energy that seems to currently be split across bits of the Labour Party,
Silly and Billy,
bits of the Liberal Democrats, bits of the SNP, the Green Party, and whatever your party ends up being called?
My first answer would have been, we need to stop Nigel Farage. So we would have got that. Anyway, I think that should sharpen minds, the fact that we have fascism at our door, and actually we need to do things that we might never have done before in order to stop that happening. I suppose I have three slightly different answers depending on who I'm talking to. There's Keir Starmer, there's Nadia Whittome, and then there's a group of everyone else. So very briefly, Keir Starmer.
Very true. Latuso? Yeah, I'm going to call him Latuso Lenaro, because that's not his name. Super chats are fun. No kitty bonk, but still fun. Well, not until... Well, actually, I might even be able to get on there now, but I'm not going to stop the stream and then start the... it's a lot of shit. Anyway. Yeah, but I'll be back on Twitch tomorrow. I might try and do a sports one and hope that I don't fail and then walk into a door like a wanker.
He could stop Nigel Farage right now by offering proportional representation.
True.
We've got this horrendous situation under first past the post where Nigel Farage could win 25%, 30% of the vote and have a huge majority. And in fact, Labour policy is for proportional representation. Trade union policy is for proportional representation. Just Keir Starmer decided, no, I'm not doing that kind of unilaterally. So if he really wants to stop Keir Starmer, what he could do right now is support proportional representation, and this would change this entire conversation.
Yeah. And he really should, because, like, that's the only way that Labour survive, really, I think, at this point. Long term. But, like, again, I've mentioned this before, it's turkeys voting for Christmas, in a certain sense, because the very system that allowed him to get, a fucking 100-seat majority is the system we're asking him to get rid of. But surely someone can go to him and say, but Kev. Not Kev, because that's not his fucking name. Oh, Jesus Christ. I've just called the Prime Minister Kev. Fuck it. Kev Starmer. Sir Kev Starmer, KC. The K standing for Kev. Kev's Council, clearly. You're about to lose really badly. You're so far behind in the polls that realistically you can't... First past the post will not allow you to do anything. So you have to pass this legislation. Otherwise, you're going to go down in history as like the worst Prime Minister ever. So just, Sir Kev Starmer. Please. You're our only hope. Oh, God. Oh, I feel sick. I shouldn't have done that joke. I'll take that back. Can I take that back? Can we pretend I didn't say that? I don't like that. I don't feel well. I don't feel good about that at all. Great idea, Katie. It'd be nice to see Rangers play their big rivals. I saw they lost again in midweek. It was glorious. Oh, Rangers are such dirt. Oh. And it was a Celtic striker that scored it, or ex-Celtic striker that scored it. Although, to be fair, he also missed like 3 sitters because he's shit. But he did finish one of them, and that was enough. Anyway, but I don't know what games are going. Should we have a look? Fuck it. I'm going to organise my tomorrow's streaming right now. Fuck off. Anyway. Football. Sports and... We won't talk about the Blues result. We don't need to go into that. Football is gay, and not in a good way. Oh God, Villa fucking Fulham. Or Newcastle Arsenal. Or Livingston Rangers. I could do Livingston Rangers, I guess. Do I really want to do relegation battle football from the Scottish Premiership? I don't know, if there was a decent team playing, I might think about it, but that's just 2 relegation fodder teams. Is there any point? No.
Because even I, as leader of the Green Party, would start to go, we probably need Labour in power right now to be moving to proportional representation. He's probably printing leaflets off right now for the next election that say it's Keir Starmer or Nigel Farage. And I don't think that's going to work this time, because I don't think the country will be held hostage by this idea that they can't vote how they want to vote. If it's Nadia, my tone softens dramatically. Say, please come in. The water's warm. I would love Nadia to join the Green Party. But I also understand, I've had this conversation with Clive many times. I'm sure.
No, it's not football. When we're talking about Rangers, it's just fascism. They don't play football. They're not capable of it. Yeah. Women Rugby Union champs. Yeah, but it's England. Fuck England Rugby Union. Posh cunts. Although they're probably less bad than the women, but whatever. I don't like Vanguard because they're racist, cultural, Christian, white supremacists. Hang on, the Vanguard are white supremacists? Is that true, Jim? I've not seen that from them. Not to say they're not problematic or whatever. I'm sure there's issues, but like... I keep watching old football games from the 2000s. My dad does this. My dad grew up in like the 70s and 80s, really. Oh, I suppose he was adult by that point. But when he came over from Ireland, he started following the football and that. And like he watched it fucking all the time. Right? He went up and down the country following the Blues and that. And he watches now on the ESPN Classics channel. They have like the big match, which was the show at the time, which showed like one of the first division games. And he says, even though like he literally sat there and watched matches that he was at, but he can't remember them. He can't remember the score or who scored or whatever. So he says it's like watching a new game. Look, it's a match from 1976, and he's genuinely like cheering it on, like it's really happening in front of him. Again. Get your kids checked out for, or get your parents and grandparents checked out for dementia, because it's Zulu. No, he wasn't a Zulu. No. How old is your dad, Kev? He's 67, 68? Late 60s. All I'll say is I do take the piss out of the fact that he's got a free bus pass now. I do call him Bus Pass Wanker. Because he does have a free bus pass. Every time he complains about anything, I just say, my fucking taxes are paying for your bus pass, you cunt. Shut up. And we're an Irish family, so like that's not a strange thing to call your father a cunt. That's just a perfectly normal thing that we do. Like, oh my god, when I was at college, like the first week even, I think this was, we were sat in the kitchen like having a cigarette, getting to know each other and all that. And my dad rang me, and so I picked up the it was a flip phone. That's how long ago it was, a flip phone. And I said, oh, you're right, you wanker. And the look on my mate's, because I told him that, oh, this is my dad, so I don't like say anything weird. I went, oh, you're right, you wanker. And the look on his face, it was like he floored him. He couldn't fucking believe it. And he was like, if I said that to my dad, he would have driven, because his dad lives in Middlesbrough. And he said, my dad would have drove down from Middlesbrough and fucking killed me. He would have actually fucking killed me. But we're Irish. You just, yeah. You're right, you wanker. Yeah, not bad. Prick. It's how we bond, okay? Don't say white people haven't got culture. Although the Irish are white now, I think. I think we count. We've been sort of grandfathered in as you know. We've got some British stuff going on. We've got some Americans. We've taken over Australia, so you know. Yeah, we're kind of white now. We're just above the Ukrainians in the pecking order. We've got some white people behind us now. We're not first out the fucking door.
Well, you wouldn't mind me saying, both privately and publicly, like someone I consider a mate, of having said consider him a mate, I think it almost starts to look delusional if you're within the Labour Party and you're like, oh, I can still change things. Because the argument he makes, for instance, is that they managed to get the welfare benefit cuts to be less bad by a progressive kind of coalition. And that is true, but they were still pretty bad. And I think those left-wing MPs in Labour, and there's a few of them who are all brilliant, are being used as a shield by Keir Starmer to go, I'm doing all of these awful things that are pretty right-wing, but don't worry, you can still trust me because, look, I've got this nice group of people. And I think they should stop themselves being used by that. If genocide is not your red line, and I just mean that seriously, at what point do you go, this is too much? More widely to the country, if you're not, Nadia Whittome or Keir Starmer, which is a lot of other people, I think we need to see what it looks like in 4 years, and I probably echo Zara's thing of let's stop shitting ourselves about it. We've had conversations, we've worked with other parties in the past, and I couldn't see a situation. In fact, I could say right now my door is open to Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana. I'll talk to them anytime about anything.
Good man.
Love the
Good
idea
man.
of popping to chat about celebrity traitors. Sorry, I've distracted myself there. But it's also important to say we're a democratic party, so it's one member, one vote. So those decisions of strategy are not made by me.
That's true, Wayward. That's so true, by the way. Yeah, the Irish did become white before the Italians. There's stories of Irish churches in New York and Boston and stuff that would literally they had to allow the Italians in because they were Catholic, but they'd make them sit downstairs, in the crypt. Not white enough. Those swarthy Italians. Actually, some Italians are swarthy, to be fair. A Sicilian is not a fair-skinned creature, by and large. Sicilians still aren't universally considered white. Well, exactly. Well, this is the nonsense of race. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Ask one person and a Sicilian's as white as, a Norwegian. Or ask fucking Benjamin Franklin and neither a Norwegian or a Sicilian are white at all. It's bullshit. It's just made up based on fucking crap. Just miscegenate, you bastards. Let's breed these whites. I am only joking. YouTube, do not shut me down, okay? I don't want to get put in fucking Guantanamo for crimes against whites. I'd much rather get put in there for... No, I'm
kind of have
for legal reasons. I won't finish that joke.
In coffees with people, they're made by the membership deciding things. That being said, I did win with a big mandate, and so I do think there's a platform there for me to say this is what I think negotiation should look like. And the honest answer is I don't know right now because we don't even know if another party is going to exist or not. The rest of the media seem to think I'm really gleeful, probably, that it doesn't exist, and that's genuinely not true. because I think there's a space that can occupy, and we can work together well, even if that's informally in terms of here's the seats we're targeting, here's the seats you're targeting, let's get out of each other's way.
Yeah.
I think that would make sense to stop Nigel Farage.
Zach, I suspect this is a string of conversations we will have
Next week, right? With
yeah,
Florida
next
Buxton
week.
in.
Yeah. But for now, let me just say thanks once again for joining us on Podside View.
I've loved it. Thank you.
See, that was really good. This is the kind of thing you need to do, right? Because the Pod Save the UK people are a bit more on the Libby end of things, but you need to try and get those people on board, right? Because these are the kinds of people who might drift away to hold their nose and vote for the Labour Party, or maybe even vote for the fucking Liberals or something. That you need to kind of hold on to in order to win in a lot of these places where, like you said, if you're in second place in that many seats, there's going to be some very, very tight races out there where literally a few hundred votes will make the difference, or even a few dozen votes. So, yeah. The Dutch just went further down the coast. Wait, so and crimes against language. We've been through it. We have ein serious problem. Fucking madness. We haven't done Jizz Watch in a while. I'll need to do that with Christy next time. Anyway, should we do some far right slop? I think we agreed to do far right slop at some point, didn't we? Well, I've been bored lately, so playing and watching darts until I get a new job. Oh, I play darts. DJ Super Tiny. I don't really talk about it on air, but it's one of the things I do to relax. I've got a dartboard set up in the next room.
You guys.
Anyway, this is a thing that 255 wanted, and I don't know if they're in the chat anymore, but anyway, they put it to me. Redeemed Zoomer, who's like a fashoid, I think, we've covered before. He said, how Gen Z reversed Christianity's decline. Okay. Oh, it would help if it wasn't muted. That would be good, wouldn't it?
It seemed like the end of Christianity. Gen Z was the most atheist, lonely, depressed, and hedonistic generation in human history.
You're very welcome.
With these past couple of years, something has changed. Gen Z has reversed the decline of Christianity. For the first time ever, children are more religious than their parents, and there's more interest in traditional Christianity than ever before.
Has Israeli football been banned by UEFA? You'd think it would be on the BBC Sports page if that had happened. Because they'd be whinging about it, saying how it was UEFA were Hamas. But I don't see anything. There's been rumours of them maybe having a vote at some point, but... And hopefully they do get removed, but I don't know.
How did this happen? Gen Z was the first generation to be raised in a secular, post-Christian environment.
What are you post-Christian? It's not post-Christian. So the right, I was always under the assumption that you had to tell the truth. Like when you said things, they had to actually like comport with reality. Turns out on the right, you can just say any old shit. You can just say, oh, Theresa May's a communist. Yeah, paracetamol will turn your kid gay. There's cancer in cornflakes. Fuck it, who cares?
They were the guinea pigs for the experiment of secularism, so they got to see the effects of secularism firsthand. So here's what it was like growing up Gen Z. Welcome to school. Hope you're excited to sit still and do mindless work for 8 hours every day. Not really. That sounds like a mental disorder. These pills should help. Okay, so how do I get good grades? By learning and being creative? No. School is designed for 20 highlighter girls who are neat and organized and submit meaningless homework on time. Not for guys like you with energy and motivation.
See, this is just what the far right do. They do this with the fucking the Wojak memes and stuff as well. This is their version of playing with like Barbie and Ken. They can just make up their own imagination land, where it's just Oh, the teacher said this, and then the student said this, and then the student went postal and shut the school up. Ha 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 ha! Look, it's just they're playing dolls. They're just it's dolls for fascists. Rather than being normal and just like, I don't know, getting into Pokemon or some shit. Like they start doing weird fucking reinterpretations of reality. Oh, the vote is on Tuesday. Oh, dope. Okay. Well, hopefully it goes the way that we hope. But the problem is, of course, Israel has got some very, very, very deep Hasbro-related pockets, and may very well be, let's say, filling some Swiss bank accounts of people connected with certain nations that will vote favourably with them. So don't be too surprised if it doesn't go the way of humanity. Maybe I'm cynical, but cynicism has not led me wrong very often, unfortunately.
Now here's why you should hate your country, race, sex, and religion. Okay, now I'm gonna try to get a girlfriend. Girlfriend? These days people just do casual hookups and situationships, and we're only interested in like 10% of guys, which does not include you. And you're happy about all this?
Mate, I can't help that you couldn't get your dick wet. Like, yeah. Like, maybe if you'd not been a fucking loser. Maybe if you'd not been a complete incel freak. Because, trust me, look at me, the women will sit on this face. Okay? Doesn't matter what you look like. It's the person you are. Okay? They're not just into 10% of guys. There's people into every type of guy. Trust me. Like, imagine the most ugly, fucked up creature you've ever seen in your life. They can get laid if they've got, like, you know, a personality. Honestly, you can laugh a girl's pants off way easier than you can, like, bodybuild or whatever. Work on a sense of humour. Work on yourself. That's the problem with these incel freaks, is that it's not healthy in general to, like, congregate in communities of fucking losers, but what's even worse is that they pretend they're doing this to, like, as self-fulfillment or, like, improving themselves. They're not. They're teaching each other how to be creepy little fucking rape obsessives. That's what they're doing, and telling them, oh, it's the big bad chads and the evil sluts that are the problem with the world. No, it's that you're a fucking creepy little loser. Work on you. Like, I can't hate you more than you hate yourself. And until you change that, I can't change that. And if I can't change it, neither can she. Improve you. You want to get laid? Become someone who's worth laying. What can I tell you? How many views does this have? 684,000. Wow, people will watch any old shit, man.
Oh no, I'm dying inside, but I can't act otherwise due to social pressure. If you don't get your grades up, you're gonna fail. What about the kids who never go to class or do homework but graduate anyway? Our school isn't allowed to fail those kids due to PR. Well, I have...
Oh, those kids. I wonder if there's any sort of unifying visual feature about those kids that he might be referring to there. Incredibly subtle. Very, very subtextual, that piece of racism, wasn't it? That might have slipped past you. If I hadn't pointed that out, that might have slipped past you, because it was very, very, very... It was really subtly crafted into the piece of art that we're watching here. Fucking Christ almighty. What about those students that just listen to hip-hop all day and don't go to class. Yeah, okay, cool.
No motivation to work either. What's the point of all this? Hey now, if you get all A's and get into a good college, you might even afford a tiny apartment someday. Well, that's depressing. You're depressed? Seems like you need therapy. No, I just want to know what I'm even working for in life. Sounds like a chemical imbalance. These pills will make you numb to it all. This was a pretty normal experience.
Yeah, I get the idea that you're fucking insane. Yes. You're a genuinely slightly unhinged creep. Yeah, no, I do get the idea.
For Gen Z men. They grew up lost, hopeless, lonely, and with no meaning in their lives. They also grew up surrounded by wokeness.
Wokeness! Can I just point out, right? Every single generation of young person has always grown up emo. Right? There's always a feeling of detachment and feelings of lost, and look, because you're working your way through a society. Each generation has its own particular way of dealing with that, or particular ways of dealing with that, and their own particular socio-economic, historical conditions to deal with. But ultimately, every generation of young people has always sort of felt this way. There's nothing unique about Gen Z or Gen Z. Jesus Christ.
Which celebrated many groups of people, but said that men were the oppressor group and needed to take a back seat in society.
Yeah, and they really took a back seat, didn't they?
Only voices speaking against the status quo were Christians and the cultural right, which
Just make up anything, yeah. Yeah, they're putting nuclear waste in your toast. Fuck it.
have always had an uneasy on and off alliance with each other. There's a lot of overlap between them because they often support the same things, but for different reasons. While not all Christians are on the right, and not everyone on the right is Christian, the right was an important stepping stone for many young men coming to Christianity. If we're gonna be
Firstly, Jimmy Carter was on the right. And second of all, Jordan Peterson is a Christian.
honest, most young men didn't go from weed-smoking atheists to Bible-believing Christians overnight. For most of them, the first step in deconstructing leftism was honestly looking at internet memes that mock wokeness, so they could see how silly all of it was.
This is the thing that he should know, because I'm sure he's looked at his demographics. It's the same groups of people. Nobody who was watching SJW cringe shit in 2015 is still doing that now. They grew out of it, by and large. There's a few losers, I suppose, but by and large, it's like the same. It's still 12-year-olds. It's just 12-year-olds that back then were 2-year-olds. You aren't changing anybody. You're just appealing to kids who feel like detached and not. They feel powerless because ultimately they are powerless. They're children. They don't have literally they don't have full rights and stuff. They're annoyed that their parents tell them what to do, and this is their little weird shit version of rebellion. You're not actually making them into Christians. That's not to say many of them won't become Christians, or were always Christians and will stay Christians, but come on. You make slop for mentally undeveloped youngsters. And I say undeveloped, not underdeveloped, as in they haven't fully developed yet. They are children. They are adolescents. There is a reason we don't allow them to buy alcohol or cigarettes. They are undeveloped.
And eventually realize the emptiness of secular society. For many young men, the first step away from leftism is skepticism of the whole LGBTQ movement, which causes them.
Wow, young people being homophobic, that's never happened before.
to get cancelled, which further radicalizes them. Since leftism is a rival religion to Christianity, it's...
See, I put Christianity in the nice sunny bit and leftism in the bad scary bit. I win the argument. Okay.
often necessary to lose faith in leftism before you can begin to consider Christianity. Not only did Gen Z lose faith in leftism, they lost faith in modern society generally. Because previous generations were living off of the benefits of Christian society, they were able...
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, Christians invented all of those things. Cool.
able to have more faith in the material things of this world. But since society for Gen Z looked more bleak, they had to turn to spiritual things for...
Mate, do you think that someone from, say, the 1920s wouldn't recognise that scene on the right? You realise that most of the world was like that on the right, and not the bit on the left, which is actually a relatively small sliver of the 20th century that looked like that. Most of the human history has been much more the right picture, actually. This is why it appeals to like 12-year-olds. It's just, oh, it's simple pictures. See, right is good and left is bad.
For meaning in life. This can loosely be applied to the generations. Previous generations were able to take a successful society for granted and saw less of a need to turn to God, but that made them weaker and less religious, which made...
He's literally just doing the fascism. Weak men create hard times create... Oh, for fuck's sake. Like, do I even have to be like... do I have to even point out that the guy's just a fascist? He's literally doing the meme. He's literally doing the fucking meme. The only thing missing is the backdrop of, like, that painting of ancient Rome that looked fuck all like ancient Rome.
Society worse, which is making Gen Z turn to God. This also applies to countries. It's a common pattern that after centuries of Christianity, especially Protestant Christianity, countries will become insanely successful.
What the fuck? Hang on, so America creates Sweden, which creates... Denmark, is that? Oh, that's Denmark, isn't it? That creates the Soviet Union, that creates Uganda, that creates America. Is that what I'm to understand from your weird vexillological gibberish? You heard it here first, everyone. Uganda makes America. In the game of rock, paper, scissors, but with 5 countries and flags, fucking Uganda smashes America. Okay? Fact. No, that's not Norway. Norway's got a blue bit inside of it. Hang on, make me fucking prove it and shit. See? Norway's got the blue cross inside of the white and the red. The U in USA stands for Uganda. True.
But then due to their success,
Which
they'll
originally,
forget
and the
about
U in
God.
Uganda
This
comes
is
from
also the
USSR.
pattern we see in the Book of
All
Judges
starts to
many
fall
times
into
over.
place.
The things that
Oh,
people...
it's perfect.
God. This is also the pattern we see in the Book of Judges many times over. Any romance achievement...
Why is the fucking noises not happening?
friendship and self-image are not necessarily bad things, but when they
actually
become
fucking hate
ultimate
you.
things, meaning things that you can't
I
have
hate myself
meaning
more.
without, then they
That
become
helps.
idols, which means false gods. Now sometimes when people
Honestly, I don't know why it does this. It's very, very, very fucking frustrating.
lose all of these things
No,
and can't get any
just-
meaning, that can never go away. The reason people are starting to favor Christianity
Literally
over
just not working
secularism
now.
is
It's
because
literally just
Christianity,
not fucking working.
modern secular society,
Fucking kill me.
insanely successful, but then due to their success, they'll forget about God. This is also the pattern we see in the Book of Judges many times over. The things that people often get meaning from, like money, romance, achievements, friendship, and self-image.
Money. There's your problem, friend. Right there. If you get self-worth from money, you will end up a lonely, lonely person.
Are not necessarily bad things, but when they become ultimate things...
Elon Musk has all the money in the world. And I've never seen a more lonely, pathetic, broken creature. Give Kev money for new headphones. That is true. I do need headphone money. You can even pay me to wear a hat. I mean, come on now. I can't say...
meaning things that you can't have meaning without, then they become idols, which means false gods. Now, sometimes when people lose all of these things and can't get any meaning from them, they turn to Christianity because that's something that can never go away. The reason people...
It can never go away. Why has it only been with us for 2,000 years then? Seems like it went away for like the vast majority of human existence. And just like every other religion, at some point it will also go away. I'm sure the fucking ancient Egyptians thought that the Temple of Ra would never be destroyed or whatever. You know, like that. Every religion thinks it's going to go on forever because they think it's all eternal and they made the earth and blah blah blah, and it's bollocks. I can't prove there isn't a God. I can't prove a God didn't make the earth. What I can prove is that all of the religions who have ever tried to describe that process have been talking shit. And they have.
People are starting to favor Christianity over secularism is because Christianity offers objective goodness, truth, and beauty.
Really? Is that why all of the churches are doing the rapes and that? What about that? What about all the wars? All the Christians doing the wars? No, not a problem for you? That's goodness, is it? Okay, cool.
Modern secular society says those things are just subjective opinions, which inevitably lead...
How can beauty, literally, how can beauty not be a subjective thing? Let alone goodness, or, I mean, truth is a tricky one. But, like, beauty, there's not an objective beauty, is there? That's fucking absurd. Obviously there's not an objective beauty. That's such wank. I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking with a friend of mine about Morrissey, of all people, the former lead singer of the Smiths, who has written some of the greatest poetry, really. Honestly, some of the Smiths' lyrics are just unbelievably beautiful, but in a very, very strange way. Very peculiar. There's the song, There Is a Light That Never Goes Out, the chorus of which goes, and if a double-decker bus crashes into us, to die by your side is such a heavenly way to die. And if a 10-ton truck kills the both of us, to die by your side, well, the pleasure and the privilege is mine. Spectacular beauty to that. Think of that. Think of that as a concept. The idea of complete obliteration not mattering because you were by the side of the person that you were meant to be with. That's a genuinely breathtakingly beautiful piece of writing. And yet it's a very strange piece of writing because it involves two people being, well, not murdered, killed in a car crash, right? And so some people would see that as a very ugly thing because it involves the death of the two protagonists of the thing, right? But for me, there's a genuinely amazing and beautiful quality to that. So clearly beauty is subjective, because I find that to be fucking insanely beautiful. And some people would find it to be hideously ugly. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to be scared by that possibility. I don't care that you find something else beautiful. You find wanking over ancient Rome beautiful or whatever, then go for it. I don't give a fuck. Oh yeah, no, Zach, that's literally what we were discussing. Genuinely, the thing I was discussing with my friend was, how can someone so hideously ugly, on the inside, I'm not talking about him physically or anything, although he's not a looker anymore, he had cheekbones back in the 80s, but then again, I had cheekbones back in the noughties, so, you know, we've all been there. Twink death has arrived to us both. Inside, he's a very ugly man. He's a racist, misogynist, Islamophobic piece of shit. A genuinely awful person. And we were literally discussing, like, how can someone so ugly have written so many beautiful things? It doesn't. There's an incongruity to that, and that's literally what I was talking about with my friend over a beverage. It was very pleasant discussion. But anyway, yeah, beauty is in the eye of the beer holder.
Leads to degeneracy, lies, and ugliness in modern...
Yes! The three best bits. Degeneracy, ugliness, and lies. If there's three things I can guarantee you on this channel, chat, it is those three things. Hit the follow button and subscribe and all that shite.
society. Traditional Christian philosophy calls goodness, truth, and beauty the transcendentals because they're all objective, they're all connected to each other.
Obviously not. Oh, he's doing a Jordan Peterson now. Is this the Dragon of Chaos? Is this the tripod of transcendentalism? Are you going to start combing your nan's pubes? I don't know, and I'm scared. Good night, Vogel. Thanks for stopping by. Enjoy sleep.
And they're all rooted in God's nature, because goodness, truth, and beauty each reflect God in various ways. But modern secular philosophy questions the existence of God, so goodness, truth, and beauty...
Why wouldn't you question it? How fucking stupid are you that you wouldn't question it? Like, I'm okay with someone who's questioned it and gone, actually, I think there is a God. I disagree with them, but I'm absolutely fine with that. But to not question it, and to even, like, deride the concept of questioning it, is fucking stupid. You've got a brain. You've got a fucking brain. If God created you, he created you with a brain. And you've gone, actually, I'm going to spit in God's face by refusing to use my reasoning powers that God gave me. And instead, I'm just going to regurgitate something that a fucking nonce at the altar said. Spectacular work.
Beauty become nothing but human opinions. That's why they say things like, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Or because it's true.
Or live your truth. Those are actually secular modernist sayings. Since objective goodness, truth, and beauty don't exist according to secularism, any claims to objective goodness, truth, or beauty by the church, for example, are seen as tools of oppression that need to be deconstructed. Take goodness for...
Oh my god. This is like just weird Christian apologetics 101. It's just really shit. It's oh my god. If you want a full debunking of Christian apologetics, I can highly recommend Steve Shives' superb series of works. He goes through literally he's got like 20 books he went through or whatever, and for each book he goes through chapter by chapter in each episode the things that the Christian apologist says in the chapter and why they're complete fucking bullshit and all the rest of it. It's really thorough. It's fantastic. Yeah, excellent work. They're old as fuck now, but they're still very much salient.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
Vicky, thank you, Vicky Clue says, as Wayward Historian asked. Yeah, well, exactly. Don't listen to me when I say it. Only listen to Wayward Historian when she says it. Obviously, why would anyone listen to me? This is the Wayward Historian channel. I am merely the voice. I am merely the puppet. I am the Keir Starmer to Wayward Historian's Morgan McSweeney. I am but the suit. She is the brains.
For example, according to Christianity, morals come from God, and therefore there's a clear line between good and evil. So the so-called traditional family structure is not just based on tradition, but it's actually prescribed by God.
Really? Why is it not prescribed by God anywhere in the Bible? Why did people not live in this nuclear family until, like, the end of the 19th century? Seems like you're trying to impose your weird politics onto God. Enjoy hell.
Because it's necessary for human flourishing. Secularism looks at that same family structure and calls it oppressive, because it's just based on arbitrary restrictions of people's rights. So they do everything they can to deconstruct it. They encourage women to be childless workers into their 40s. They encourage young women to party and sleep around and never settle down. They promote no-fault divorce, which breaks up families. They promote the LGBTQ movement, which breaks down the barriers between genders. And they promote abortion. Previous generations...
Hey! Notice he didn't have anything to criticise about that. He just went, and they also oppose abortion. So you're okay with abortion then? Abortions for some, tiny American flags for others.
Saw the absence of restrictions as freedom, but more and more young people are starting to realize how empty that life is.
Also, by the way, the stats don't even bear out this idea that Gen Z is so much more Christian. They're like marginally slightly more Christian, which I wouldn't find that surprising given the economic woes of the post-2009 world in which they grew up. Like, literally, Marx's whole thing, right, about, you know, the...
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
He did say that. He said capitalism, sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit. That's a very fine synopsis, Gennaro, of capital. Fact. Now, his whole thing about Christianity being the soul of a soulless world is true, right? Religion offers you comfort in a time when comfort is difficult to come by. And so the fact that they've faced economic hardship, it's not that surprising that some of them have turned towards religiosity. Because I'm sure if you looked at the same statistics in other parts of the world, there's probably been an uptick in the faith of many different religions around the world. Because people look for solace and hope and a sense of belonging in a world that doesn't seem to be offering them that in any normal economic, social sense. So, you know, like, I'd expect a certain uptick, and there has been a slight uptick. Okay? Like, he's arguing like this is, oh, all of the Gen Z people are fascist Christoids like me. They're not. They're actually not. Thank you, Vicky, who says, honestly, though, the Comic Sans font is just making me think frustrated primary school teacher. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because there's a very good reason why he's not a primary school teacher. It's that in order to be a primary school teacher, you need to legally be able to travel within 500 yards of a school. Which I suspect he isn't able to do.
Are desiring a traditional family. Now let's talk about truth. Christians believe that truth comes from God, revealed in the Bible, but once we understand that, we can also study science, because science is the study of God's creation.
What the fuck does that mean? This isn't even like... This is fucking Noah's Ark Park This is the Ark Park version of like science now. You're not even doing Christian apologetics. You're doing like gobbledygook. Oh yeah, they took baby alligator. No, was it? They took baby dinosaurs on the Ark. That's why dinosaurs exist. And then all of the baby dinosaurs became adults. And the reason that we don't see any genetic bottleneck. Reasons. Cool.
Christian ideas laid the groundwork for modern science because they believed the world was created by an intelligent God. It's why Christians started the modern university system. Most of the Ivy Leagues...
Like, I would have a lot of problems with every single person who founded those universities, but the idea that, like, and they'll say this, like, you know, Galileo was a Christian and fucking this person was a Christian and that. The idea that the greatness of these early scientific minds is in any relation to the absurd fucking rubbish that you believe now. Like, how dare you besmirch their memories? As incomplete as they all were, as scientists, their Christianity was nothing like yours. They would fucking despise you as the simpleton you are. The kind of people who fucking think that taking ivermectin was like a great idea. The kind of people who now are thinking like, oh, everyone with autism must have taken too much fucking Tylenol, like these fucking losers. Do you think fucking Isaac Newton would have given you the steam off his fucking piss, you ignoramus?
schools were started by Bible-believing Calvinists. So Christianity has never been opposed to science. What secularism tried to do was take the science without the Christianity and build a worldview based on the physical, ignoring the metaphysical. But they realized...
Is that the real Yale logo? I don't even know. Is it? Is that Hebrew on it, maybe? Is it? I don't know. Possible. The Princeton one has a book with Latin on it, as indeed does Harvard. And Dartmouth doesn't have a thing, but it does have Latin. Yeah. It looks et veritas. That's light and truth, isn't it? I think.
Ivy League schools were started by Bible-believing Calvinists. So Christianity has never been opposed to science. What secularism tried to do was take the science without the Christianity and build a worldview based on the physical, ignoring the metaphysical. But they realized that they had no objective reason to believe anything that they believed, and now secularism can't answer basic scientific questions like what is a woman.
See, I'm right because trans people exist. Is a superb answer. Also, Matt Walsh is definitely a nonce. Look at him. What an absolute fucking freak.
Young people are starting to see how...
What person sells a baby version of themselves with a beard on it? It's just creepy.
ridiculous this is, and turning to traditional Christianity for answers about the world. Many traditional forms of Christianity, like Presbyterian, Lutheran, Catholic, and Orthodox, have detailed theological systems that answer all the questions modern society ignores.
All of
now,
them.
beauty is something that even
All
many
of
modern
them.
Christians misunderstand. Traditional Christianity believes beauty is objective and it points us to God.
Right, but that's obviously not true. That's not to say that beauty can't point you towards God, because if God created the beauty, fine. You'd have to prove that, which you can't, but whatever. But there's no objectivity to it, because again, we're different people who like different things. There are many things that I would find beautiful that you would be disgusted by, and trust me, vice versa is definitely the case.
Traditionally, churches were designed to look like colonies of heaven here on earth, and the traditional Western church architecture...
Not really. They were meant to be imposing. They were very much about corporeal power. Power here and now on earth. Not heavenly power. In a situation where in a town the vast majority of buildings would have been 1 and 2 stories, to have a church spire that tall meant that they were in control. And how could you deny it? If you're a peasant in the 16th century and you live in a fucking shack in a back room of a fucking hovel of a dive, and then you walk into a building as incredible as that, how could you deny the divinity of God? How could God must have created these things. Except, of course, it was people that created them, but it doesn't matter. It would be awe-inspiring. And slightly fucking terrifying at the same time.
Architecture style, the Gothic style, is meant to be upward pointing because it shows the tension between heaven and earth. Traditional architecture reflects the beauty.
And it makes for good arches which bear loads very well. Gigaday.
Of nature, because Christians believe God designed the beauty of nature to glorify himself. Traditional
Conceited.
art was about living up to beauty standards, but modern art is about challenging them. People will walk in a modern art gallery and think, I'm supposed to enjoy this? Well,
But again, that goes to show you how absolutely subjective these things are. Because lots of people do actually enjoy this kind of art. You might not, and that's fine. You can like whatever. You can like this building. You know what? I like this building too. Beautiful. I don't necessarily actually like these particular pieces of art, but there are lots of pieces of modern art that I do enjoy. And lots of people go to these things because they actually enjoy them. Thus showing that clearly it is subjective. But don't let reality stop you or anything.
well, no, you're not, because that's not the purpose of modern art. The purpose of modern art is just to rebel against beauty. It's the same.
What the fuck are you talking about, you dopey cunt? You know, there are like nudie pictures of people in modern art too. And they're depicted as beautiful. Like, what fucking gibberish are you talking about? Yeah, I like looking at art. I think art's nice. I like the endeavour of it, if nothing else. Even if I don't like the thing. Even if I don't particularly like these 4 pieces of art. But I like the fact that someone created them. I think that in of itself is a beautiful thing. The actual act of someone creating a piece of art to be seen is a beautiful thing. I don't have to personally approve of it. There's lots of art I think is shite. But other people will enjoy it, and that's awesome. I like people being creative. Whereas this dickhead's like, no, this is the only thing. This building is the only thing that can ever exist. Otherwise, Christianity is being destroyed. Oh, fuck's sake. God, I hate these fucking people, man.
Same in music. Many of the best traditional classical composers like Bach and Handel were devout Christians who believed they were glorifying.
So what? So fucking what? Unlike you, they were talented. Anime is art. No, absolutely. And to be serious, hang on, you know what? I'll even do this. Boom, here we go. To be serious, I've mocked anime as a comedic bit. But it is an art form, and lots of people enjoy it. And I think that's awesome. I don't personally get it myself. It's not a thing I'm that interested in. But other people enjoy it, and that's fucking dope. Go for it. And now we're off, Sincerity Cam. Go fuck yourselves, nerds.
God through their music. Beethoven was the first to try and use music as a form of self-expression by challenging traditional musical norms.
Yeah, and he was awesome. Like, the thing is, all of these 3 are fucking awesome. Who gives a fuck? Like, As if he's ragging on Beethoven. Like, what? Fucking idiots. There's some people, man. Like, who's such a backward fuck that they're like, this modernist trash like Beethoven? This modern woke Beethoven shit. Unbelievable.
And although he was a great composer, everyone else tried to copy him and push the boundaries of music more and more until it sounded like a cat walking on a piano. So goodness, truth, and beauty are pushing young people towards Christianity, specifically traditional Christianity. There aren't exactly a bunch of young people flocking to non-denominational evangelicalism because it doesn't have beauty, because it's not meant to be historically rooted. And even though it does have some truth, it doesn't have the most deep and intellectual...
Here we go. See, this is the real gatekeeping. This is like, now these types of Christianity, they're not quite Christian enough for me. They're not doing Christianity in quite the way I want them to. Because it's, and then just not beauty, not truth, not goodness, because reasons. Okay, cool. Yeah, this guy's dense as fuck, yeah, absolutely.
Actual truth, because once again, it's not really rooted in the intellectual traditions of the church. Previous generations of the church actually gave into...
So what? So fucking what that it's not based in blah-de-blah? Like, you realise that those traditions themselves were once brand new as well. Age doesn't like sanctify these things. They're just old. They're just old things. People also used to dance around arse naked on full moon, in front of rocks that they'd placed in a circle. Like, that happened way before Christianity was around. Should we also be doing that? Your modern woke Jesus bullshit gets in the way of my naked moon dancing. You're trying to destroy the truth, beauty, and what was the other one? Truth, beauty, and fucking whatever of the naked dancing to fucking druids. Why are you so bigoted against the Stonehengists? You see? Make England great. Exactly. We used to be a real country. Now people don't even bother going to church, let alone getting naked on a full moon. Or if they do, it's mainly because they're drunk. Which I'm okay with.
Modernism by making worship more contemporary to try and attract young people, but these days young people desire tradition more than ever across all denominations. Aesthetics have been especially powerful in converting young men to Christianity. Video games trained young men to appreciate the medieval Crusader aesthetic because they...
Crusaders. By the way, do you think they looked like that? Like, I know, like, you're not supposed to reveal that what you are is a weird set of, like, LARPers, but too lazy to actually go and do it. Like, at least LARPers, like, actual role-playing people, like, dress as the thing and go and, like, pretend to do it, right? They act out the bit. They reenact, or they, you know, if it's a fantasy one, they just act it, right? You're too lazy to even bother doing that. But do you think the Crusaders actually looked like that? Because they fucking didn't. Like, this is a medieval reimagination of what they actually looked like. Very few of them, literally what was called taking the cross, i.e. they were allowed to literally put the cross on themselves. They were being given, remission from all sins for recapturing the Holy Land. But that was only the posh cunts. The rest of them were like mercenaries, really. They didn't look anything like that. And these fuckers wouldn't have had spears. If they're knights, they'd have had big fuck off swords for like stabbing cunts. what kind of weird Ewok, fucking fascist Ewok situation have we got going on here where they've got fucking spears? You're just weird. You're very weird people.
Associated it with adventure, which is something all young men desire. And up until recently, the only way for young men to get adventure in the modern world was video games, but now many of them feel like they have an opportunity to crusade for the old Christian society that was taken from them.
Can I just ask you, hang on.
They have an opportunity to...
Look at the fucking society that he's bigging up here. How is that better? The one on the bottom right here. Look at this fucking thing. Hang on. Let's embiggen it. Look at the fucking poverty of a lot of those people. Like, I know there are big buildings there, but it's grotty as fuck. And many of them are, like, very down and out working class people. There are some fancy women in their fancy skirts, but, like, do you honestly think... That's Wall Street, by the way, isn't it, I think? Is that Wall Street on the left there, I think? The stock exchange building? So that's like turn of the 19th to 20th century New York. That was like filled with like absolute deprivation, and they would regularly have fires which would just kill loads of people. Yeah, let's go back to that. That's fucking dope. That's awesome. Let's definitely go back to that time when those students weren't even allowed in schools, which is why I suspect he wants to go back to that time.
Crusade for the old Christian society that was taken from them. The reason it's been taken from them is every society is built on a particular religion, and American society is built on mainline Protestantism. So ever since that got hijacked by liberalism, so did...
Oh yeah. The American churches are way too liberal. You fucking knob. You absolute goon. I was expecting more walls. Well, dingus, you may not know that, but it's called Wall Street precisely because it used to have a big fucking wall. Back when New York was still a relatively new city. In order to stop raiders from native groupings, they did actually have a big wall down what we now know as Wall Street, which is why it's called Wall Street. Honestly, if Trump had gone on about building a wall around Wall Street, I think I'd have been happy enough with that. We're going to build a big, beautiful wall, stop all of these bankers getting in. We need extreme vetting on bankers until we find out what's going on. I'd have been on board with that. I'd have been cool.
Society. Many people have responded by leaving these churches, but a couple years ago I started a movement called Operation Reconquista to retake these churches.
Reconquista. Again, you're not living down the fascism allegation, are you, lad?
And since then, thousands of people have joined the movement, many of whom are pastors. Young men need a mission, and this could be it. If you want to get involved, we have a map, which will be linked in the description of this video, where you can find a church within these denominations that still holds to the essentials of Christianity, and can be a good base for building back up these denominations.
You mean people who agree with me, not the bad ones? Okay, babe.
We also have a Discord community, which will be linked in the description, for
Wow, I'm sure that's absolute cancer.
mainline Protestants who want to fellowship with each other and encourage each other in rebuilding the church.
Can we have, like, a really intimate fellowship with one another? Can we, like... Can you because I want to feel deep inside of you. I want to really reach in and... I want to have sex. I want to fuck you. I want to fuck you in the bum.
The reason I bring this up is because, as fun as it is posting about Christianity on the internet, we need to direct this energy towards building up the church in real life. And although Christianity is good for culture, we shouldn't be Christian because of that. It's good for culture because it's true. The real meaning of...
What the fuck? This is... Yeah, the Comic Sans is not helping.
of Christianity is not being a based gigachad who crusades for the culture on the internet. It's about recognizing that God
Yeah, but you're also not that. You're obviously like a weird little dweeb. Pretending. A frottage of men is what Kev wants. Pretty much, yeah. No, I want to have intimate communion with your dad. And your mom. I don't mind. Same time, separately, whatever. We can have like a kind of rotating cuck situation. I don't mind. I don't mind.
God came down from heaven and died for your sins so you could be forgiven and have eternal life. But you don't need to wait
Okay,
until...
but what's the mechanism for that? This is the Christians need to explain this to me. Okay, God died for my sins. Okay, so God, or Jesus, whatever, you know, died, and that somehow wiped out the sin. What's the mechanism for that? Because why wouldn't God just go, okay, sin's gone? Because he could just click his fingers or just think it and it would happen because it's God, right? What's the causal link between the God death, the kind of torture and murder of this supposedly human, and the ending of the sin bit, or the kind of paying off of the tab, because that tab apparently has been building up ever since. I don't know why they got a freebie, but we're all fucked. Whatever. But like, what's the connection there? There's like, seems like it was completely inconsequential to the forgiving of sins. Seems like God was just sort of into it. Like I'll be honest with you, kink shaming is bad, but when it comes to murdering your own son who is you in the most gruesome, disgusting way possible is a kink I will shame. That is a line that I am not prepared to cross, okay? Cancel me.
You die to go to heaven. The kingdom of heaven begins here on earth, and you can participate in building it up in anticipation of when Christ shall return to restore all things.
Didn't that happen like 3 days ago? Didn't they all get raptured? Because this was from like 2 months ago, so like, or 3 months ago. So presumably the redeemed Zuma has now been raptured with all of the good Christians and can leave us the fuck alone forever. Dope. Okay, that was fucking shit. There was another thing I wanted to watch, but I can't be bothered now. I think I'm just going to go to bed. Yeah, a bit of an abrupt ending. But, yeah. Rapture was at the end of the Mayan calendar, 21/12/2012. Oh, yeah, that did happen as well, didn't it? Yeah. True. Okay, well, I'll be back tomorrow. I might do a football stream in the afternoon, but I'll definitely be back tomorrow evening on both YouTube and the Twitches, hopefully. With no justice of the MTGs to do some award-winning journalism. Apparently Sir Keith himself will be making an appearance, which should be fucking awful. I look forward to it. Anyway, let's see who's going on YouTube. I can kick you all over to. I am king shaming that. I am, yeah.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
You're about to go live. Okay. Well, hurry the fuck up. Okay. A noise happened. Thank you, Dingus, who says, come on, Kev, watch the other thing. Tell us some stories. Well, I think the other thing's like 50 minutes long. Hang on a minute. If it's, I think it's too long. Hang on, 1 minute. Where was it? I think it's quite a long video.
More Perfect Union
Oh, no, it's only 11
is a
minutes.
progressive media
Although, to
organization
be fair,
turned.
that video was only 12 minutes and it took me nearly 2 fucking hours or whatever it was. Actually, no, it didn't. It took me about an hour. It's the toxic conspiracies of a more perfect union, which is supposed to be mental as fuck, but I don't know. Has Katie sorted her sound issue? I have no fucking idea. Maybe is the answer. Twitch maybe tomorrow too. Yeah, hopefully so, yes. And Katie is now going, so I'll send you over there. Everyone, please go and give Katie a subscription. It's free here on the YouTubes to subscribe, so go and do that. No reacting to Man United fans. I might do that at some point tomorrow or something. I don't know. Anyway, thank you everyone for listening and watching, for all of your support. Free Palestine. No pass around.